Time now to take a look at the morning papers. I'm joined here by the former royal photographer and biographer Ian Lloyd and the former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Leeson. A very good morning to both of you. Nice to have you here with me. Inevitably, a huge number of, all the papers dominated by pictures of Prince Charles, more tributes of the Queen. So let's go through some of them, shall we? You've picked out the Times, first of all, and they've got a wraparound, haven't they, for their edition in the morning. On the outside, there's the main headline, I pledge myself to you, that's inside. On the outside, I don't know if I can show viewers what they've done. They've done a wraparound with a photograph of Prince Charles from yesterday, looking emotional. And as a photographer, I'm curious to get your take on the decision to use that photograph. There's so many moments in a day. How does a photographer and an editor pick out?
Well, there's so many stories. I mean, for instance, he made Prince William Prince of Wales yesterday. I mean, normally, on a normal day, that would be the headline. The picture that they've gone for is a very powerful image of Prince Charles looking incredibly moved. He's a very sensitive man, and of course he's only lost his mother 2 days ago, and he came back to London, and again it's reminiscent of when Diana died 25 years ago, and the Queen came along here in the Rolls Royce, stopped at the gate, looked at the flowers and met the crowd. And one thing you never know is how the crowd's going to react. Yesterday it was very, very positive and very emotionally charged, but supposing only about 3 or 4 people had turned up, that would be a devastating sort of indictment about Charles. But there was obviously a well of support, and I think he was incredibly moved yesterday, wasn't he?
He did seem very moved, didn't he, Dawn? And that picture tells that story. And I guess the main headline, away from the wraparound on the Times, I pledge myself to you, is he's giving that message, isn't he? That the public, the people are what he's there for.
He's echoing everything his mother ever said, literally from day one, Anna, isn't he? I mean, we thought she was our queen. She thought she was our servant. And, you know, literally from day one, she pledged herself to her duty, to her service, to her people. And Charles's speech, which I thought was incredibly dignified yesterday, I thought he grew into his role then. I mean, it's said when people step into sort of like, you know, a promotion, they grow 6 inches. And I almost got that impression, he became more statesmanlike, more dignified, almost overnight. I thought his speech was incredibly dignified, but it was very, very echoing. You could almost hear his mother saying those words. It was incredibly moving. The one difference, going back to the picture on the front as well, is he's much more emotional than his mother. I mean, I'm sure the Queen cried many tears behind closed doors, but Charles is a very emotional man, and that was taken at the gates just behind us, looking at the floral tributes. And on the back of the wraparound, there's an incredibly poignant picture of him and Camilla, who was with him at the time, obviously now the Queen Consort, walking through that arch on their own. And it's like, yes, they are our king and queen now, but it's an incredibly lonely role, and I think that picture just sums up so much, just in one image. I don't know if you agree, Ian, as a photographer, but I just think it's an incredibly moving image.
And they have to show the emotion, because the big problem, again, going back to Diana 25 years ago, is that they stayed at Balmoral and contained the emotion. They didn't show, one of the headlines was "Show as you care, Mom," that week, and they've learned a lot from it. And the death of Prince Philip, the Queen Mother, the royal family have got out there talking to people, showing their emotion. And yesterday was very powerful with that he was showing that he's hurting, and people were responding to that.
Well, yeah, and that pledge that we reflected in the headline, I pledge myself to you. I mean, very much a sense of wanting to create that sense of continuity. There will be a lot of people who feel this deeply, who worry that this one constant in their lives has now gone. You get that sense of wanting continuity, but to what extent do you think he has to inject a fresh voice as well?
I think he has to tread a very fine line here. As we know, Charles, when he was Prince Charles, was very political, very vocal on many issues, and I think it was very carefully worded the speech, and he said that he appreciates he had to step away from some of his previous roles with his charities and the campaigns that he'd been involved in. And I think that sent a coded message to people in that I am stepping away from being the political Charles into becoming the King Charles and following in his mother's footsteps of sort of like being, the Queen never, she famously kept above it all, didn't she? She famously never really got involved in politics. And I think Charles now, that speech yesterday was signifying that he is doing that, but he is very much going to continue the legacy, which I think for everybody watching today and everybody gathered at the gates this morning is so important because she is all we've known.
And he did talk about having to step back from a number of the charities.
Sorry, just going back to the picture at the back of him arriving at the palace, that's the symbol of monarchy, is Buckingham Palace. That's, Winston Churchill said the Queen had to... she wanted to live at Clarence House initially, but they said, no, to the palace you must go. And it's the symbol of monarchy. And it's like arriving at your new job,
Yes.
A bit like even Prince George arriving at school 2 days ago. It's that was a very powerful image of them arriving, saying, right, it's ours now,
And William's children arriving at school feels like a different era now, doesn't it? That feels so long ago. Let's move on to the Daily Mail and their coverage. They have tearful Charles's tribute to his darling Mama, again reflecting that more emotional monarch perhaps that we have now. But the speech was very personal as well as pledging his duty. There was a lot of mention of family, not just his feelings about his mother passing away.
I think what we tend to forget, or a lot of people forget in this, is that yes, we have lost the Queen. She has been, constant in all our lives pretty much. But she was also a mother. She was also a grandmother and a great-grandmother. And if you take away the royalty and the monarchy from this is a family grieving. I mean, I know him and the Queen had, when they were younger, had issues, but they grew incredibly close, in part thanks to Camilla, the older Charles got. And they were very close at the end. And I think, obviously he only lost his dad last year as well. So I think this is a man grieving for his mother, not just a prince grieving for his queen. This is a man who's just lost his mum. And to do what he's doing, to sit there and address the nation, I mean, I couldn't have done that when I lost my dad. I mean, and you take the human side of it, and it's an incredibly brave thing to do.
Yeah, that's right. It was very moving, wasn't it?
You could see at the speech, right at the very end, I mean, he was clearly about to lose it, and it finished very quickly. But I mean, he obviously wrote that. It was incredibly personal, and he only lost his mother the day before, so he had to sit down and create a very important speech, one of the most important speeches of his life, to show that he's going to carry on.
And what about what he said about the rest of his family? He chose to give William and Kate the titles of Prince and Princess of Wales, which is in his gift to do, as his mother did for him, but also saying how much he loved Harry and Meghan, and some are interpreting that as sending out an olive branch. I don't know how you see it.
I think it was incredibly important that he did that. Obviously, I think to talk about William and Catherine without mentioning Harry and Meghan would have seemed very odd and would have caused even more, talk about the bad blood in the family, which we all do accept is there. I think it was incredibly important that he did say that, and I agree. I think it was an olive branch. I think we all feel now that the incredible sadness of what we've been through as a country and as them as a family, but he doubled down with the sadness that the two brothers have this rift between them. And I think now, the one thing certainly the Queen would want, and all of us now, is that for the family to be reunited. I mean, I know there's bad blood in families, it often is almost impossible to heal, but personally, I would love now to see those brothers reunited, and I think that's what Charles, as a father, is trying to do.
Yeah, and I think he would... Prince Harry's trapped between two worlds, his new role and his life abroad, and his old one as a member of the royal family. If he wasn't living abroad, he would be here, and I say they would be sharing their grief. He would be taking it in turns with William to meet the crowds and so on. So he's kind of lost that role, and he's caught between two worlds. And I think, as his father, Prince Charles must be concerned about that.
Yes.
But you want to include your both sons,
Absolutely.
And let's just move on to the Daily Star next, and their headline is again reflecting on what King Charles said yesterday. To my darling Mama, as you begin your last great journey to join my dear late Papa, I want simply to say this, thank you. And again, that last line, it goes on to, may flights of angels sing thee to thy rest, which is so beautiful. I had to look it up. It's from Hamlet, apparently. I didn't recognise that. But again, a very moving tribute to the end there. And I think all of us keep saying Prince Charles, by the way. I think I've said it several times,
all
but
the time.
we have to remind ourselves that he is, of
And
course,
the
like
first
King
time I
Charles.
sing the national anthem, Anna, I'm God save the King, and it's like send him.
That's right.
And it's like I'm gonna really struggle.
First time it was sort of formally sung yesterday at the memorial
The other
service.
startling thing is if you said the phrase the Princess of Wales, you would automatically think of Diana.
Diana.
And now, of course, we've got a new Princess of Wales.
Yes.
So
In
almost that phase of Diana is closing, and we've got this kind of future.
Evidently, that phrase from Hamlet, though, talking of Diana, that phrase from Hamlet was also sung or read very briefly at Diana's funeral. So I do wonder if him choosing that particular phrase was maybe a subtle mention and a nod to his late wife. I don't know. I mean, I hope maybe that's the case, but
Who knows?
Yeah.
Shakespeare's also his favourite author. I mean, he goes to Stratford a lot, and it's a nice allusion to the Queen and joining Prince Philip. And frankly, I don't think she ever got over his loss. It's only last year, and she seemed to deteriorate quite quickly after Prince Philip's death. So it is nice for a son to think his parents are reunited after 73 years marriage.
Well, Ian and Dawn, thank you for going through the papers with you. We'll see you again in another hour's time on what's a very busy day with the Accession Council meeting later on.
yes.
But for the moment, thanks very much indeed. So do stay with us here. We've got live continuing coverage from Buckingham Palace throughout the morning as we build up to that big moment, the Accession Council, which happens at 10 o'clock this morning, televised for the first time in history. And it's the moment when King Charles will be formally proclaimed the monarch. Crowds already beginning to arrive here at Buckingham Palace as it gets lighter. A number of people already turning up with flowers to pay their tributes to the Queen. As I say, continuing coverage here from Buckingham Palace throughout the morning. Do stay with us here on Sky News.